The message that shattered everything. Emma Torres never thought her perfect life would crumble in the back seat of an Uber. She sat clutching her phone, rain streaking down the window like tears she refused to cry yet, staring at 3 words that destroyed her entire world. She knows everything. The text wasn't meant for her. It was sent to her fiancé Derek Ashford, from a number saved simply as M. But Derek had left his phone on the kitchen counter that morning, and when it buzzed with that message, Emma's world tilted on its axis. Her hands trembled as she scrolled up through their conversation. Months of messages, intimate words, promises that mirrored the ones Derek had whispered to her in the dark. The Uber driver glanced at her through the rearview mirror. "You okay back there, miss?" Emma couldn't answer. Her throat felt like it was closing. She pressed her palm against the cold window and forced herself to breathe. The Seattle skyline blurred past, lights reflecting off puddles in the streets. It was supposed to be the happiest week of her life. Their wedding was in 6 days. 6 days until she walked down the aisle in the ivory dress hanging in her closet, the one her mother had cried over when Emma tried it on. But now everything was a lie. The perfect facade. Emma had met Derek 3 years ago at a charity gala her architecture firm was sponsoring. He was charming, successful, a real estate developer with a smile that could sell anything. He'd approached her by the champagne fountain, complimented her emerald dress, and asked if she believed in love at first sight. She'd laughed and said no. He'd grinned and said, "Give me 6 months to change your mind." He'd done it in 3. Derek was everything Emma thought she wanted. Ambitious, generous, attentive. He remembered her coffee order, surprised her with weekend getaways to the San Juan Islands, and held her when her father died suddenly last year. He'd proposed on the anniversary of their first date, on one knee in front of her entire family at her mother's birthday dinner. Everyone had cried. Everyone had been so happy. Emma's best friend Claire had squeezed her hand that night and whispered, "You're the luckiest woman alive." Lucky. The word tasted like ash now. The Uber pulled up to the glass-fronted building where Derek's office occupied the top 3 floors. Emma paid quickly, barely hearing the driver's concerned goodbye, and stepped into the rain. She didn't bother with an umbrella. Let the storm soak her. Let it wash away the perfect image of her life before she had to face what came next. Confronting the truth. The elevator ride to the 15th floor felt eternal. Emma watched her reflection in the polished steel doors, soaked hair clinging to her face, mascara starting to smudge, the diamond engagement ring on her finger catching the light. That ring represented everything she'd believed in. Commitment. Trust. Forever. All lies. When the doors opened, Derek's assistant, Jennifer, looked up with a bright smile that immediately faltered. "Emma? Are you? What happened? You're soaked. Is he in his office?" Emma's voice came out flat, cold. "Yes, but he's on a conference call." Emma walked past her without another word. She didn't knock. She pushed open the heavy oak door and stepped into Derek's corner office with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay. Derek sat at his mahogany desk, phone pressed to his ear, and his eyes widened when he saw her. "I'll have to call you back," he said quickly into the phone and hung up. He stood, smoothing his tie, that familiar smile spreading across his face. Sweetheart, what are you doing here? You're drenched. Is everything okay?" Emma held up his phone. She'd been clutching it so tightly her knuckles were white. "You left this at home." Derek's smile faltered. Just for a second, but Emma caught it. That flicker of panic before he regained control. "Oh, thanks. I've been looking everywhere for." "Who's M?" The question hung in the air between them like a guillotine blade. Derek's expression shifted. Confusion first, then concern, then something harder to read. "What?" "M. The person who texted you this morning. She knows everything." "Who is M, and what do I know?" Derek moved around the desk toward her, hands raised in a calming gesture. "Emma, I don't know what you think you saw, but don't." The word came out sharp as broken glass. Emma stepped back, holding the phone higher. "Don't you dare gaslight me right now. I read the messages, Derek. Months of them. All the late nights you said were business meetings. All the weekends you claimed you were visiting your brother in Portland. Were you with her?" Silence. Heavy and damning. Derek's jaw tightened. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet. It's not what you think. Emma laughed, a bitter sound that didn't reach her eyes. Really? Because I think my fiancé has been sleeping with someone else for at least 6 months while planning our wedding. Please enlighten me on what I'm misunderstanding. Emma. Who is she? The shout surprised them both. Emma never yelled. She was the calm one, the rational one, the woman who solved problems with logic and patience. But there was nothing rational about the rage burning through her chest right now. Derek ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair, and for the first time since she'd known him, he looked genuinely uncomfortable. Her name is Morgan. Morgan Blake. She's a client. A client. Emma's voice dripped with venom. You're sleeping with a client. It started innocently. She hired me to develop a property in Bellevue and we just connected. I never meant for it to happen, Em. I swear. It was just what? Just sex? Just a mistake? Just you throwing away 3 years because some other woman gave you attention? It's more complicated than that. Then uncomplicate it. Emma threw his phone at him. He caught it against his chest, fumbling. We're getting married in 6 days, Derek. 6 days. I've been planning this wedding, dealing with caterers and florists and seating charts while you've been. Her voice cracked. While you've been with her. Derek's shoulders sagged. I know. God, Emma, I know. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did it anyway. I was going to end it. I swear. After the wedding, I was going to cut all ties with Morgan and focus on us. On our marriage. Emma stared at him, disbelief washing over her in waves. You were going to marry me while still sleeping with her? Were you planning to tell me? Ever. I made a mistake. People make mistakes, Emma. But that doesn't mean. No. Emma's voice was ice. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. A mistake is double booking dinner plans. What you did was a choice. You chose to betray me. You chose her over me, over and over again, every single time you lied to my face. Derek moved closer, reaching for her hands. She jerked away like his touch burned. Emma, please. We can work through this. We can go to counseling, take time, figure this out. I love you. I want to marry you. Do you? Emma's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. Because love doesn't do this. Love doesn't destroy someone and then ask them to pretend everything's fine. I made a terrible mistake, but that doesn't erase what we have. 3 years, Emma. 3 years of building a life together. Are you really going to throw that away over? Don't you dare make this my fault. Emma's voice shook with fury. Don't you dare put this on me. You threw it away. You destroyed us. And now you have the audacity to stand here and ask me to forgive you like it's that simple. Derek's expression shifted, hardening. So what, you're just going to leave? Walk away from everything? The wedding's in 6 days. Your family, my family, 200 guests. What are you going to tell them? The truth. The truth will humiliate you. Emma froze. The words hit her like a physical blow. She searched Derek's face, looking for the man she'd fallen in love with, but all she saw was a stranger. A cruel stranger who cared more about appearances than her heart. Is that what you're worried about? She whispered. Humiliation? Not that you broke my heart, not that you betrayed me, but that people might find out you're not the perfect man everyone thinks you are. Derek said nothing. That silence told Emma everything she needed to know. She pulled the engagement ring off her finger. It slid off easily, too easily, like it had never really belonged there. She set it carefully on his desk between them. We're done. Emma, don't be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being smart. For the first time in 3 years, I'm seeing clearly. She turned toward the door, her soaked clothes leaving small puddles on his expensive carpet. You can tell everyone whatever story you want. I don't care anymore. If you walk out that door, that's it. I won't come after you. Emma paused, hand on the doorknob. She looked back at him one last time. Good. Don't. The spiral downward. The next 3 days passed in a blur of canceled vendors, returned gifts, and painful phone calls. Emma's mother cried for hours. Her bridesmaids showed up with wine and ice cream, surrounding her with love she couldn't quite feel through the numbness. Claire had been the fiercest, calling Derek every name in the book and offering to slash his tires. Emma had almost let her. But revenge wasn't Emma's style. She believed in moving forward, in rising above, in being the bigger person. So she focused on the practical matters, canceling the venue, the photographer, the band. Each phone call felt like peeling off a layer of skin. Each explanation, "The wedding is off," felt like admitting failure. On the fourth day, Emma forced herself to go back to work. Her colleagues tiptoed around her, offering sympathetic smiles and quiet condolences. She buried herself in blueprints and building codes, trying to forget that her entire future had evaporated. That afternoon, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "We need to talk. Meet me at Café Vivace at 5 p.m. Emma stared at the message, her pulse quickening. Morgan, the woman who destroyed her life, wanted to meet. Every rational part of Emma screamed to delete the message and block the number. But another part, the part that had been crying herself to sleep every night, wanted answers. Wanted to look this woman in the eye and understand why. At 4:55, Emma found herself pushing open the door to Café Vivace in Capitol Hill. The coffee shop was busy with the late afternoon rush, filled with the hiss of espresso machines and low conversation. She scanned the faces until she found her. Morgan Blake sat at a corner table, stunning in a way that made Emma's stomach twist. Sleek black hair, sharp cheekbones, designer clothes that probably cost more than Emma's monthly rent. She looked up when Emma approached, and something flickered in her dark eyes. Guilt, maybe, or satisfaction. Emma couldn't tell. "Thank you for coming," Morgan said, gesturing to the chair across from her. Her voice was smooth, cultured, exactly what Emma had imagined. Emma didn't sit. "Why am I here?" "Because you deserve the truth." "I know the truth. You slept with my fiancé." "It's more complicated than that." Morgan sipped her coffee, maddeningly calm. "Derek and I have known each other for 2 years. Long before he met you." The words hit Emma like ice water. "What?" "We were engaged once. 5 years ago. I broke it off because I wasn't ready for marriage. Biggest mistake of my life." Morgan's perfectly manicured fingers traced the rim of her cup. "When I hired him for the Bellevue project last year, all those old feelings came rushing back. And apparently they were mutual." Emma's legs felt weak. She sank into the chair, her mind reeling. "He never mentioned you." "Not once." "Of course he didn't. Derek's very good at compartmentalizing his life. It's one of his many talents." Morgan's smile was sad. "I'm not here to hurt you more, Emma. I'm here because I thought you should know that Derek proposed to you to make me jealous. It worked. And once I told him I was ready to try again, well, he couldn't exactly back out of the wedding without looking like a monster. So he just kept us both?" Emma's voice cracked. "He wanted his cake and to eat it too. Classic Derek." Morgan leaned forward. "But here's what you don't know. Derek's not who you think he is. The charming developer, the successful businessman. It's all smoke and mirrors. He's in serious financial trouble. His last 3 projects failed. He's drowning in debt." Emma's head spun. "That's not possible. He just closed a major deal in Kirkland, a deal that fell through 2 months ago. He's been scrambling ever since." Morgan pulled out her phone, scrolled through something, then turned it toward Emma. Bank statements, legal documents, emails about foreclosures and angry investors. "My father's a lawyer. I had him look into Derek's finances when things started getting serious again. What I found terrified me." Emma stared at the documents, her stomach churning. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because Derek was going to marry you for your money." The cafe seemed to tilt. Emma gripped the edge of the table. "What?" "Your inheritance from your father. The life insurance policy, the house in Queen, and Derek knew about all of it. He needed it. And he was willing to marry you to get access to it." Morgan's expression softened, almost pitying. "I'm sorry, Emma. Truly. But you dodged a bullet." Emma couldn't breathe. The betrayal had layers she hadn't even begun to uncover. It wasn't just infidelity. It was calculation. It was years of manipulation. Derek had seen her as a solution to his problems, not as a person. Not as someone to love. "Why tell me?" Emma managed to ask. "If you wanted him back, why warn me?" Morgan was quiet for a long moment. Because I realized something. Derek doesn't love either of us. He loves himself. And I'm done being collateral damage in his games. She stood, gathering her purse. I thought you deserved to know what you're walking away from. Or what's walking away from you, depending on how you look at it. Wait. Emma looked up at her. Is it really over between you two? Morgan's smile was sharp. After I showed him these documents and told him I wasn't going to bail him out financially? Oh yes. It's very over. Derek doesn't handle rejection well. You'll probably get a few desperate calls in the next week. She paused at Emma's shoulder. For what it's worth, I hope you find someone who deserves you. Because Derek never did. Then she was gone, leaving Emma alone in the crowded cafe with a truth so devastating she didn't know how to process it. The rage takes root. That night, Emma sat in her apartment surrounded by the ruins of her wedding plans. Boxes of decorations she hadn't returned yet. The guest book she'd spent hours personalizing. The playlist Derek had helped her create for their first dance. She'd been prepared to forgive infidelity. Maybe, with time and therapy, they could have worked through it. But this was something else entirely. This was premeditated. Derek had courted her, proposed to her, planned a life with her, all while knowing he was using her. Emma opened her laptop and started searching. Morgan had given her enough information to find more. And what she found made her blood run cold. Derek owed over $2 million to various creditors. His company was on the verge of bankruptcy. The house he claimed to own? Rented. The luxury car? Leased and behind on payments. Everything about his life was a carefully constructed illusion designed to attract someone exactly like Emma. Stable, successful, with assets he could leverage. And she'd fallen for it completely. Emma's phone rang. Derek's name flashed on the screen. She let it go to voicemail. He called again. And again. On the fifth call, she answered. What? Emma, thank God. We need to talk. Morgan told me she met with you. Whatever she said, it's all lies. She's trying to turn you against me because I chose you. Emma's laugh was hollow. You didn't choose me, Derek. You chose my inheritance. Silence on the other end. Then, that's not true. I saw the documents. I did my own research. Your company's failing. You're drowning in debt. And you thought marrying me would solve all your problems. Emma, it's not like that. How much were you planning to take from me? Emma's voice was deadly calm. The life insurance? My father's house? My savings? All of it. I loved you. I still love you. Yes, I made mistakes, but... Stop lying. Emma closed her eyes. Just for once, stop lying to me. Derek's voice changed, grew harder. Fine. You want the truth? Yes, I needed help financially. Yes, I thought we could help each other. But that doesn't mean I didn't care about you. We could have been happy, Emma. We could have built something real. Built on lies and manipulation. Built on partnership. Marriage is about supporting each other. I would have given you everything. You would have taken everything. Emma felt tears streaming down her face, but her voice stayed steady. You used me. You made me fall in love with you knowing you were going to destroy me. I never wanted to destroy you. Then what do you call this? Derek sighed, and Emma heard something shift in his tone. Look, I'm sorry it ended this way. But you need to understand. I'm desperate. The people I owe money to aren't patient. I need help, Emma. Real help. If you could just loan me. Emma hung up. She sat in the darkness of her living room, understanding flooding through her. Even now, Derek was trying to manipulate her. Even after everything, he thought he could convince her to hand over money. The audacity was breathtaking. But beneath the heartbreak, beneath the devastation, something else stirred. Something cold and sharp and new. Derek had played her like a fool. He'd stolen 3 years of her life, her trust, her love, all for a con that almost worked. He'd left her humiliated, broken, questioning everything she thought she knew about herself. And he was still out there, probably already looking for his next target. Some other woman with assets he could exploit. Some other victim who would fall for his charm and his lies. Emma thought about Morgan's words. Derek doesn't handle rejection well. A plan began forming in Emma's mind. Not revenge exactly. Something colder. Something calculated. Derek had taught her well. how to smile while hiding your true intentions, how to make someone trust you completely, how to wait for the perfect moment to strike. She picked up her phone and started making calls. First to Claire, then to her lawyer, then to a private investigator she'd found online. If Derek thought he could walk away from this unscathed, he was about to learn a very painful lesson. Emma Torres had always been the good girl, the one who followed the rules, who believed in karma and justice. But Derek had broken something fundamental in her. And from those broken pieces, someone new was emerging. Someone who understood that sometimes the only way to get justice was to take it yourself. To be continued. Will Emma's revenge destroy Derek? Or will it destroy her? The game has only just begun, and no one will emerge unscathed. Click to continue this story and discover what happens when a betrayed woman decides to fight back. Part 2 and The Architect of Destruction. Emma spent the next 2 weeks transforming herself. Not physically. She looked the same, still the polished architect with her neat bun and professional wardrobe. But inside, where it mattered, everything had changed. The woman who believed in fairness and second chances had died in Derek's office. What remained was someone sharper, colder, more dangerous. The private investigator, a weathered man named Tom Rivera, delivered his first report on a gray Tuesday morning. Emma met him at a diner far from her usual haunts, somewhere no one would recognize her. Tom slid a manila folder across the chipped formica table, his expression grim. "Your instincts were right," he said. "Derek Ashford is a walking disaster. But it's worse than you think." Emma opened the folder. Inside were photographs, bank statements, copies of legal documents. Derek with various women at expensive restaurants. Derek meeting with men in dark suits who looked like they'd stepped out of a crime drama. Derek signing papers with shaking hands. "He owes money to some very dangerous people," Tom continued, keeping his voice low. "Not just banks and investors. There's a guy named Viktor Kozlov, Russian businessman with ties to organized crime. Derek borrowed $500,000 from him 2 years ago for a development project that never broke ground. Kozlov wants his money, and he's not the patient type." Emma studied a photograph of Derek meeting with a silver-haired man outside a warehouse. Even in the grainy image, she could see the fear in Derek's posture. How long does he have? Kozlov gave him until the end of next month. After that, Tom made a cutting gesture across his throat. "These aren't people who take you to court. They take you to the hospital. Or worse. And Derek thought marrying me would solve this? Your inheritance would have cleared most of his debts. Not all, but enough to buy time." Tom leaned back, studying her. "I gotta ask, what are you planning to do with this information?" Emma closed the folder carefully. "I'm going to save his life." Tom's eyebrows rose. "After everything he did to you?" "I didn't say I was going to make it easy." Emma's smile was cold. "Derek destroyed me because he thought I was weak, that I'd never fight back. He's about to learn how wrong he was." The first move. Emma's plan was elegant in its simplicity. She would give Derek exactly what he wanted, a way out of his financial nightmare. But the price would be everything. First, she needed leverage. Real leverage, not just knowledge. So she did what she did best. She built something. Over the next week, Emma used her connections in Seattle's development community to quietly acquire information. She learned which banks held Derek's loans, which investors were threatening lawsuits, which properties were about to be foreclosed. She learned the names of everyone Derek had burned on his way down. Then she started making calls. "Mr. Peterson? This is Emma Torres. I'm calling about the Kirkland property development that Derek Ashford defaulted on." "Yes, that's right. I'm wondering if you'd be interested in selling me that debt." One by one, Emma bought Derek's debts at a discount. The creditors were happy to recoup some of their losses. They didn't ask why a relatively unknown architect was suddenly interested in commercial real estate debt. They just took her money and signed the papers. Within 10 days, Emma owned nearly $800,000 of Derek's debt. She was now one of his largest creditors. The irony wasn't lost on her. The second part of her plan was more delicate. She needed to meet Viktor Kozlov. Tom had been horrified when she'd suggested it. "These aren't people you just walk up to, Emma. Kozlov is dangerous." "So am I," she'd replied. "Set up the meeting." Now, sitting in the back room of a Russian restaurant in Georgetown, Emma fought to keep her hands from trembling. The room smelled of cigarette smoke and expensive cologne. Two large men stood by the door, arms crossed, watching her with flat, dangerous eyes. Viktor Kozlov sat across from her, a man in his 60s with silver hair and a face that might have been handsome once before life had hardened it. He studied Emma like she was a chess piece he was trying to figure out how to use. "Miss Torres," he said, his accent thick but his English perfect. "I am curious why a woman whose wedding was recently cancelled wants to meet with me." "You're a businessman, Mr. Kozlov. So am I. I have a proposition. I do not do business with architects. You do business with people who can pay you what they owe. I can make that happen." Kozlov's eyes narrowed. "You want to pay Derek Ashford's debt? Why?" "Because I want something in return. Information. Cooperation. And I want you to do exactly what I say when I say it." A dangerous silence filled the room. One of the guards shifted, his hand moving toward his jacket. Kozlov held up a hand, stopping him. "You have courage," Kozlov said. "Or stupidity. I haven't decided which." Emma met his gaze steadily. "Derek Ashford stole 3 years of my life. He was going to marry me and steal everything my dead father left me. I want him to pay for that. But I don't want him dead. I want him destroyed in a way that matters. And you think I will help you? I think you'll help yourself. I'm offering to clear his debt, $500,000, in exchange for your cooperation. You get your money back and I get my revenge. Everyone wins." Kozlov leaned back, a slow smile spreading across his face. "You are more interesting than I expected, Miss Torres. Tell me your plan." Emma told him. When she finished, Kozlov was laughing, a deep rumbling sound that shook his shoulders. "You are cruel," he said, something like admiration in his voice. "Derek Ashford hurt the wrong woman. Very well. I agree to your terms. But if you fail to pay, I won't fail. See that you don't." Kozlov stood, extending his hand. Emma shook it, feeling like she just made a deal with the devil. Maybe she had. But Derek had pushed her to this. Whatever happened next, he'd brought on himself. The trap is set. 3 days later, Derek showed up at Emma's apartment. She'd known he would. Tom had been tracking his movements and Emma had made sure certain information reached Derek's ears. Rumors that Emma was about to receive a large settlement from her father's estate. Money that hadn't existed before. Bait too tempting for a desperate man to ignore. Emma buzzed him up, taking a deep breath before opening the door. She hadn't seen him since their confrontation in his office. He looked terrible, thinner, with dark circles under his eyes and a desperate edge to his smile. "Emma, thank you for seeing me." She stepped aside, letting him in. Her apartment was pristine, carefully staged for this moment. Financial documents visible on the coffee table. A bottle of expensive wine breathing on the counter. Everything suggesting success, stability, money. "You look well," Derek said, his eyes cataloging everything in the room. "I've had time to think. To process." Emma poured 2 glasses of wine, handing him one. "Sit down, Derek. We should talk." He sat on the edge of her couch, clutching the wine glass like a lifeline. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness." "You don't." Emma sat across from him, her voice calm. "But I've realized something. Hating you is exhausting. It's consuming me, destroying me worse than you already did. So I'm trying to let it go." Hope flickered in Derek's eyes. Disgusting, desperate hope. "Emma, if you could give me another chance." "I can't do that. But maybe I can help you anyway." Derek went very still. "What do you mean?" "I know about your debts. About Kozlov and the others. I know you're drowning." Emma sipped her wine, watching him over the rim. "My lawyer just finalized my father's estate. There were some assets we didn't know about. Investments that matured. I'm coming into a substantial amount of money." She could see the calculation in Derek's eyes, the wheels turning. "Emma, I would never ask you to." "I know. But I'm offering anyway. Not as a loan. As a gift. Because despite everything we had something real once. Or at least I thought we did." Derek's hand shook so badly wine sloshed over the rim of his glass. "How much?" "Enough to clear your major debts." Not all of them, but enough to get Kozlov off your back and buy you time with the others. Emma set down her glass. But I have conditions. Anything. God, Emma, anything. First, you sign a legal document acknowledging the money is a gift, not a loan. I don't want you coming after me later claiming I owe you something. Second, you agree to go to therapy. Real therapy, not just a few sessions to appease me. You need help, Derek. Done. Absolutely done. Derek set down his glass and moved toward her, reaching for her hands. Emma let him take them, fighting the revulsion that crawled up her spine. Emma, you have no idea what this means. You're saving my life. Maybe you'll pay it forward someday. Help someone else when they need it. I will. I swear I will. Derek pulled her into a hug, and Emma forced herself not to flinch. Over his shoulder, she could see her phone on the table, the voice memo app recording everything. Thank you, Derek whispered. Thank you so much. There's just one more thing, Emma said, pulling back. I need you to come to my lawyer's office tomorrow to sign the papers. Everything has to be legal and official. Of course. Whatever you need. Derek's smile was radiant, genuine relief flooding his features. What time? 10 a.m. Don't be late. After Derek left, Emma stood in the shower for 30 minutes, scrubbing her skin until it was red, trying to wash away the feeling of his touch. Then she called Tom. It's done. He took the bait. You sure you want to go through with this? Tom asked. What you're planning? It's going to destroy him completely. Good, Emma said. He destroyed me first. Tomorrow he learns what that feels like. The reckoning. Derek arrived at the law office at 9:55 a.m., 5 minutes early, wearing his best suit and most charming smile. Emma was already there, sitting in the conference room with her lawyer Sarah Chan, and several other people Derek didn't recognize. His smile faltered when he saw Viktor Kozlov. What's going on? Derek's voice went up an octave. Emma, what is this? Sit down, Derek. Emma's voice was ice. We have a lot to discuss. I'm not sitting anywhere until you tell me what the hell is happening. Kozlov, what are you doing here? Sit down. Kozlov's voice carried the weight of violence. Derek sat. Sarah Chan opened a folder, her expression professionally neutral. Mr. Ashford, this meeting is to inform you of some significant changes to your financial situation. As of yesterday afternoon, Emma Torres purchased approximately $800,000 of your outstanding debt from various creditors. Derek's face went white. What? She now holds the majority of your commercial debts, Sarah continued. Additionally, she has negotiated directly with Mr. Kozlov to assume your debt to him as well. In total, Ms. Torres now controls over $1.3 million of your outstanding obligations. Derek looked at Emma, comprehension and horror dawning in his eyes. You lied. There's no inheritance. This was a trap. Oh, there's an inheritance, Emma said calmly. My father left me very well provided for. I just decided to invest it in something worthwhile. Your destruction. You can't do this. I already did. Emma slid a document across the table. These are your options. Option 1. You pay me back in full within 30 days. We both know that's impossible. Option 2. I begin foreclosure proceedings on every asset you have. Your company, your apartment, your car, everything. You'll be bankrupt within weeks. Or, Derek's voice cracked. Option 3. Emma's smile was razor sharp. You sign everything over to me. Your company, your assets, your properties. Everything. In exchange, I'll forgive your debts and give you enough money to start over somewhere else. Somewhere far from Seattle. You're insane. I'll never. Kozlov cleared his throat. Mr. Ashford, I should mention that I am now working as Ms. Torres's financial consultant. If you do not accept option 3, my previous arrangement with you will resume. And I'm much less patient than Ms. Torres. The threat hung in the air, heavy and unmistakable. Derek looked around the room, finding no allies, no escape. He turned back to Emma, and she saw the moment he truly understood what she'd done. You planned this, he whispered. All of it. The meeting at your apartment, the sympathy, the offer to help. It was all a lie. Now you know how it feels. Emma's voice didn't waver. You spent 3 years lying to me, using me, planning to steal everything I had. I spent 3 weeks returning the favor. The difference is, I'm better at it than you are. Emma, please. I know I hurt you, but this is justice, Derek. This is you learning that actions have consequences. You gambled with my life and lost. Now you're paying the price. Sarah slid another document across the table. We need your signature, Mr. Ashford. Today. Derek stared at the papers, his hands trembling. If I sign this, I lose everything. If you don't sign it, you lose everything anyway, Emma said. Plus, you'll have Kozlov to deal with. Your choice. The silence stretched out. Emma watched Derek's face cycle through emotions. Anger, desperation, disbelief, defeat. Finally, he picked up the pen. I hope you're happy, he said bitterly, signing his name with shaking hands. I'm not, Emma said honestly. But I'm satisfied. Derek signed the last page and shoved the papers across the table. He stood, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. You've become exactly what you hated about me. You know that, right? Maybe, Emma said. But at least I'm honest about it. Derek looked at her for one last moment, and Emma saw something die in his eyes. Then he walked out of the conference room, out of her life, out of Seattle forever. The door clicked shut behind him. Sarah began gathering the papers. Congratulations, Miss Torres. You now own Ashford Development Corporation. What are you planning to do with it? Emma sat back in her chair, feeling hollow and triumphant and exhausted all at once. Rebuild it. Make it something good. Hire people who deserve the jobs and finish the projects Derek abandoned. Turn his failures into something worthwhile. Kozlov chuckled. You are remarkable, Miss Torres. If you ever need financial backing for future ventures, call me. I will. After everyone else left, Emma sat alone in the conference room, staring at the papers that made her the owner of everything Derek had once possessed. She'd won. She destroyed him completely, taken everything he valued, and sent him away with nothing. So why did she still feel empty? The cost of victory. 2 months later, Emma stood in the penthouse office that had once been Derek's, looking out over Seattle's skyline. Ashford Development Corporation was now Torres Development, and under her careful management it was actually starting to thrive. She'd honored Derek's outstanding contracts, paid his workers, and begun 3 new projects that would actually help the community instead of just lining pockets. Claire visited sometimes, bringing coffee and concern. You did the right thing, she'd say. He deserved what he got. But late at night, alone in her apartment, Emma wasn't so sure. She'd become exactly what she'd accused Derek of being. Manipulative, calculating, ruthless. She'd traded her compassion for revenge and won everything except peace of mind. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Emma Torres? A woman's voice, young and frightened. Yes. Who is this? My name is Rachel. Rachel Winters. I got your number from someone who said you might help me. It's about Derek Ashford. Emma's chest tightened. What about him? I've been dating him for the past month. We met in Portland and he's been so wonderful, so charming. But today I found something on his phone. Messages to another woman. And when I looked up his name, I found articles about what happened in Seattle. About you. About what he did. Emma closed her eyes. Of course, Derek hadn't learned. He just moved to a new city and started the same patterns all over again. Some men never changed. Are you calling to warn me he's coming back? Emma asked. No. I'm calling because I need advice. How do I get away from him? How do I protect myself? Everyone says you're the only woman who ever beat him. Emma stood at her window, watching the city lights flicker like dying stars. She thought about Derek, probably spinning his charm for this new victim, probably planning his next con. She thought about all the women he'd hurt before her, and all the ones he'd hurt after. She thought about the revenge that had consumed her and left her feeling hollow. Rachel, Emma said slowly, I'm going to help you, but not the way I helped myself. I'm going to teach you something better than revenge. What's that? How to walk away with your dignity intact. How to protect yourself legally. How to heal without becoming someone you don't recognize. Emma paused. Revenge didn't save me, Rachel. It just made me into a different kind of victim. Don't make the same mistake. Over the next hour, Emma gave Rachel practical advice. Lawyers to call, documents to secure, ways to protect her assets and her heart. When they finally hung up, Emma felt something shift inside her chest. Something that had been frozen since Derek's betrayal started to thaw. Maybe destroying Derek had been necessary. Maybe he deserved everything she'd done to him. But that didn't mean she had to stay in that dark place. She could choose to be something better, do something better, help other women avoid the traps she'd fallen into. Emma picked up her phone and called Tom Rivera. I need you to do something for me. Find every woman Derek's dated in the past 5 years. Everyone he might have hurt or conned. I want to help them if they need it. That's a lot of detective work, Tom said. Could take months. I've got time. And money. Let's put both to good use. As Emma hung up, she caught her reflection in the window. Tired but determined, scarred but stronger. Derek had tried to break her, and she'd almost let him. But she was still standing. And now she'd make sure his other victims had the chance to stand too. Revenge had been cold satisfaction. But this felt like redemption. To be continued. Emma's war with Derek may be over, but the consequences are just beginning. When the past refuses to stay buried and new secrets emerge, Emma will have to decide. Is she the hero of this story or the villain? The final chapter reveals the true cost of revenge. Ghosts of the past. 6 months after Derek signed away his company, Emma had become someone she barely recognized. Torres' development was thriving, earning a reputation for ethical practices and community-focused projects. She'd hired 50 new employees, finished 3 of Derek's abandoned developments, and started a mentorship program for women in architecture. On paper, her life was perfect. But Emma couldn't sleep. Every night she lay awake thinking about Derek, wondering where he was, what he was doing, whether he was still hurting women. She'd helped Rachel escape his manipulation. Tom's investigation had uncovered 7 other women Derek had conned or betrayed over the years. Emma had reached out to each one, offering legal help, financial advice, a sympathetic ear. Some had accepted. Others had been too traumatized to even respond. The weight of it all was crushing her. You need to let this go, Claire said over lunch at their favorite cafe. You won. Derek's gone. You've helped the women he hurt. What more can you do? I don't know, Emma admitted, pushing her salad around her plate. But it doesn't feel finished. Like there's something I'm missing. Or maybe you're just addicted to the revenge. Maybe you don't know who you are without it. The words stung because they were true. Emma had spent 6 months defining herself by her opposition to Derek. What was she without that? Just another successful businesswoman? Felt hollow. That afternoon, back in her office, Emma's assistant buzzed her. Miss Torres? There's a woman here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's urgent. Her name is Diane Ashford. Emma's blood went cold. Ashford. Send her in. The woman who walked into Emma's office was in her 60s, elegant despite obvious strain. Gray hair pulled back in a neat bun, expensive but worn clothes, eyes that held a lifetime of sadness. She extended her hand. Miss Torres. Thank you for seeing me. I'm Derek's mother. Emma shook her hand, gesturing to a chair. Mrs. Ashford. I wasn't expecting. How can I help you? Diane sat carefully, clutching a worn leather purse. I'm here to apologize for my son. And to ask for your help. I don't understand. Derek called me last week. From Portland. Diane's voice shook. He's in trouble again. Serious trouble. He borrowed money from the wrong people, made promises he couldn't keep. He's going to get himself killed, Miss Torres. Emma felt no sympathy. Only a cold, distant curiosity. Why are you telling me this? Because you're the only person who ever held him accountable. The only one who saw through his charm and fought back. Diane's eyes filled with tears. I know what Derek did to you. I know he was going to use you, betray you. I'm not here to defend him. I'm here to beg you to help me save his life. Why would I do that? After everything he did. Because despite everything, he's my son. Diane pulled out a tissue, dabbing at her eyes. I failed him, Miss Torres. His father and I divorced when Derek was 12. I was working 3 jobs, barely keeping us afloat. Derek learned that charm could get him what hard work couldn't. He learned to manipulate, to lie, to use people. And I didn't stop it. I was too tired, too overwhelmed. By the time I saw what he'd become, it was too late. Emma studied the older woman, seeing genuine anguish in her face. What do you want from me? I want you to help me get him into a treatment program. A real one, intensive therapy for personality disorders. I found a facility in California that specializes in this kind of thing. But it costs money I don't have, and Derek won't go voluntarily. He needs to be court-ordered, which means I need evidence of his crimes, his debts, his pattern of behavior. You want me to help build a case against him? I want you to help me save him before he destroys himself completely. Diane leaned forward, her voice desperate. I know it's not your responsibility. I know you owe him nothing. But I'm a mother, Miss Torres. I can't give up on my child, even when he's done terrible things. Can you understand that? Emma thought about her own father, about the unconditional love he'd shown her even when she made mistakes. She thought about the kind of person she wanted to be. Someone driven by revenge or someone capable of mercy. I'll think about it, Emma said quietly. Give me a few days. Diane left her contact information and departed, leaving Emma alone with a decision that would define who she really was. That night, unable to sleep, Emma called Tom Rivera. I need you to find Derek Ashford. I need to know exactly where he is and what he's doing. Tom was quiet for a moment. Emma, I thought you were done with this. So did I. But maybe there's one more thing I need to do. The final confrontation. Tom found Derek 3 days later, working at a car dealership in Portland and living in a studio apartment in the worst part of town. The mighty developer had fallen far. Emma took a day to think, to plan, to decide if she could really do this. Then she drove to Portland. The car dealership was shabby, sandwiched between a pawn shop and a liquor store. Emma found Derek in the back lot, smoking a cigarette and looking at his phone. He'd lost weight. His hair needed cutting. The expensive suits were gone, replaced by a cheap polo with the dealership logo. When he saw her, he froze. Emma. Hello, Derek. They stared at each other across the gravel lot. 2 people who'd once planned to spend their lives together. Now strangers bound only by betrayal and revenge. What are you doing here? Derek's voice was wary. Your mother came to see me. Derek's expression hardened. Of course she did. What did she want? To save you. Emma moved closer, studying his face. She thinks you're going to get yourself killed. Maybe I am. Derek took a long drag on his cigarette. Would that make you happy? Knowing I ended up dead in an alley somewhere? No. The word surprised Emma even as she said it. No, it wouldn't. Bullshit. You destroyed me, Emma. You took everything I had and crushed it to dust. Don't pretend you care what happens to me now. You destroyed yourself, Derek. I just held up a mirror. Emma crossed her arms. But your mother's right about one thing. You're sick. Not physically but mentally. The way you use people, lie to them, manipulate them, it's not normal. It's pathological. Derek laughed bitterly. So now you're diagnosing me? That's rich. I'm offering you a choice. Emma pulled out the information Diane had given her about the treatment facility. Your mother found a program in California. Real therapy, intensive treatment for personality disorders. It's a year-long residential program. Court-ordered, which means you can't leave early. And why the hell would I agree to that? Because the alternative is that I release everything I know about you to every news outlet in the Pacific Northwest. Every woman you've conned. Every debt you've dodged. Every lie you've told. I'll make sure your face is so recognizable that you'll never be able to run another scam again. Derek's face went pale. You wouldn't. Try me. Emma stepped closer. I've spent 6 months thinking about you, Derek. Wondering if destroying you was enough. And I've realized something. You're never going to stop. You're going to keep hurting people, keep using women, keep running cons until someone finally kills you or puts you in prison. And I'm tired of waiting for that to happen. So this is still about revenge? No. This is about cutting off the infection at the source. You're a predator, Derek. And predators don't stop hunting until someone stops them. Emma held out the papers. So here's your choice. Go to this program, get real help, maybe become someone who can actually function in society without destroying everyone around you. Or I burn you so badly you'll never recover. Derek stared at the papers, his jaw working. And if I refuse? Then I hope you've made peace with whatever God you believe in. Because the people you owe money to here in Portland? They're not as patient as Kozlov was. You talked to them too? I did my research. Emma's voice was steel. I know about Marcus Chan and the $200,000 you borrowed for a real estate flip that doesn't exist. I know about the investment group you convinced to back your latest project with money you're already spending on rent and cigarettes. You're running the same playbook, Derek. And it's going to get you killed. Derek sank down onto the hood of a nearby car, his face in his hands. For a long moment he just sat there, shoulders shaking. When he finally looked up, Emma saw something she'd never seen before in his eyes. Genuine fear. I don't know how to stop, he whispered. I've been doing this so long. I don't know who I am without it. Then find out. That's what the program is for. Why do you even care? After everything I did to you, why would you want to help me? Emma thought about that question. She'd asked herself the same thing 100 times over the past few days. Because I don't want to be the woman you turned me into. I don't want revenge to define me anymore. And because your mother loves you, and she deserves to have a son worth loving. What if the program doesn't work? What if I'm just broken beyond repair? Then at least you tried. Emma set the papers on the car hood next to him. At least you gave the people who love you that much. Derek picked up the papers with shaking hands. If I do this, if I go to California and do the whole year, what happens to my debts here? I'll handle Chan and the others. I'll make sure they understand you're getting help, and that I'm guaranteeing your debts. They won't come after you. Why would you do that? Because I'm tired, Derek. I'm tired of hating you. I'm tired of thinking about you. I'm tired of letting what you did control my life. Emma turned to walk away, then paused. Your mother will make the arrangements. The program starts in 2 weeks. Don't make me regret this. She was halfway to her car when Derek called out. Emma. She turned. I'm sorry. His voice cracked. For all of it. I know it doesn't change anything, but I'm sorry. Emma nodded once and got in her car. As she drove away, she saw Derek in her rearview mirror, still sitting on that car hood, holding the papers like a life raft in a storm. Redemption's price. 3 weeks later, Emma received a call from Diane Ashford. Derek had entered the program. He'd gone without a fight, packed his few belongings and driven to California. The intake counselor said he was cooperative, participating in therapy, starting the hard work of understanding why he did the things he did. Thank you, Diane said, her voice thick with tears. You gave my son a chance to become someone better. I'll never forget that. After they hung up, Emma stood at her office window looking out over Seattle. Torres Development had just signed its biggest contract yet. A sustainable housing project that would provide affordable homes for 100 families. Her mentorship program had expanded to 3 other cities. She'd been invited to speak at a national conference about ethical business practices. She'd built something good from the ashes of Derek's betrayal. But the real victory wasn't the company or the money or the recognition. It was the woman staring back at her in the window's reflection. Scarred but strong, wounded but healing, angry but learning to forgive. Emma thought about the journey that had brought her here. The devastating discovery of Derek's betrayal. The cold, calculated revenge she'd planned and executed. The hollow victory of destroying him. And finally, the harder choice of offering mercy instead of delivering the final blow. She'd learned that revenge was easy. Anyone could destroy someone they hated. But choosing to help someone who'd hurt you, choosing to break the cycle of pain and anger, that took real strength. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Miss Torres? This is Rachel Winters. You helped me escape Derek 6 months ago. I wanted you to know I'm doing great. Got a new job, new apartment, started therapy. Thank you for showing me I could survive this. You saved my life. Emma smiled, feeling something warm bloom in her chest. This was why she'd done it all. Not for revenge, but for this. For the women she'd helped. For the people who worked at her company and had good jobs with fair pay. For the families who'd live in the home she was building. Derek had tried to make her a victim, Instead, he'd forged her into something stronger. 1 year later, the package arrived on a Tuesday morning, delivered to Emma's office by regular mail. Inside was a letter written in Derek's familiar handwriting, but neater now, more careful. Dear Emma, I'm writing to you from California, where I've just completed the treatment program you and my mother arranged. I've spent the past year in intensive therapy, working through the issues that made me into the person who hurt you and so many others. I won't insult you with excuses. There are none. I was a narcissist, a sociopath, someone who used people because I never learned to see them as real. My childhood wasn't an excuse. My financial problems weren't an excuse. I made choices, terrible choices, and you suffered for them. The therapist here helped me understand something. I was addicted to the con. To the thrill of manipulation, the power of making people believe my lies. It was the only way I knew how to feel valuable, important, in control. And I destroyed everyone who got close to me. I can't undo what I did to you. I can't give you back the 3 years I stole or repair the trust one shattered. But I can tell you that I'm different now. Not perfect, I'll never be perfect. But aware. Accountable. Trying every single day to be someone who doesn't hurt people. I'm staying in California. I got a job as a construction worker. Something honest, something where I can't manipulate or con anyone. I'm in a support group for people with personality disorders. I see a therapist twice a week. I'm building a life that isn't based on lies. Thank you for giving me this chance. You could have destroyed me completely, God knows I deserved it. But you chose mercy instead. You chose to believe I could become someone better. I'm trying every day to prove you right. Asterisk, I hope you're happy, Emma. I hope you've built something beautiful from the Continue 16:08 wreckage I created. You deserve all the happiness in the world. Asterisk. With genuine remorse and gratitude, Derek. Emma read the letter 3 times, sitting at her desk as afternoon light slanted through the windows. She felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no vindication. Just a quiet, distant acknowledgement that this chapter of her life was finally, truly over. She folded the letter carefully and placed it in a drawer. Maybe someday she'd throw it away. Maybe someday she'd frame it as a reminder of how far she'd come. For now, it was just words on paper. An ending to a story she was ready to stop telling. Her assistant buzzed. Miss Torres? Mr. Harrison from the housing project is here for your 4 o'clock. Emma smiled, straightening her jacket. Send him in. As she turned to greet her client, Emma caught her reflection in the window one last time. She saw a woman who'd been broken and rebuilt herself. A woman who'd chosen revenge and then chosen something better. A woman who'd learned that the ultimate payback wasn't destroying your enemy. It was refusing to let them destroy you. Derek had taken 3 years of her life. But she'd taken those years back and transformed them into something that mattered. She'd helped dozens of women escape similar situations. She'd built a company that changed lives for the better. She'd learned that strength wasn't about how hard you could hit back, but about how you rose from the blow. That was the real revenge. Not his destruction, but her reconstruction. As Emma shook Mr. Harrison's hand and began discussing the housing project, she realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd thought about Derek before that letter arrived. He'd become a footnote in her story, not the main plot. And that was exactly how it should be. The ultimate payback wasn't making Derek suffer. It was learning to stop caring whether he did. Emma Torres had won the war not by destroying her enemy, but by refusing to let the battle define her. And in the end, that was the only victory that mattered. Epilogue: New Beginnings. 2 years after Derek's betrayal, Emma stood at the grand opening of Torres Community Housing. 100 sustainable, affordable homes built on land she'd purchased from Derek's former holdings. Families milled around the courtyard, children playing on new playground equipment, parents touring their new homes with tears of joy and relief. Claire stood beside her, holding Emma's hand. You did this. You took something evil and turned it into something beautiful. We did this, Emma corrected. All of us. Diane Ashford approached, hesitant but smiling. She'd become a volunteer at the Torres Women's Foundation, the nonprofit Emma had started to help women escape financial abuse and manipulation. They'd formed an unlikely friendship, bonded by their mutual understanding of how one man's actions could ripple out and damage so many lives. Emma, the community center looks beautiful, Diane said. Derek would be. Well, I was going to say proud, but that's not quite right. Humbled, maybe, Emma suggested. If he's really changed. He has. He calls me every week. He's still in California, still working construction, still in therapy. He's seeing someone. A woman who knows his whole history, someone he's being honest with. He's trying. Good. And Emma meant it. She'd learned that healing didn't require her enemies to suffer. It just required her to move forward. As the sun set over the new housing development, Emma thought about the journey that had brought her here. The devastation of betrayal. The cold satisfaction of revenge. The harder path of mercy. And finally, the peace of building something meaningful from the ashes. She'd started this journey wanting to destroy Derek Ashford. She'd ended it by destroying the version of herself that believed destruction was the answer. That was the real story. Not about revenge, but about transformation. Not about payback, but about purpose. And as Emma watched families celebrate their new homes, she knew that this moment, this impact, this meaning, was worth more than any revenge could ever be. She'd won not by making Derek lose, but by making sure his victims could win too. And in the end, that was the ultimate payback of all.